We all face challenges at some point. It's the emotional curveball comes in and you need to stay grounded and professional when that's the last thing you really feel prepared to do. Maybe it's a personal crisis, it's a workplace challenge, or some major external change. These moments test our resilience, and they always teach us something. Hi, I'm Beki Fraser, an award-winning coach, author, and entrepreneur. Welcome to Short Story Long. Today is a novella. They still have growth, a little drama, and insights, just in a smaller package. There's been a definite mood shift in my circle since the U.S. election. It's not just the presidential election, which some celebrate and some don't. It's the lens through which we see our world. Also, I've heard of even more layoffs that have been delivered through email, with a text to remind you to check your email. Harsh, cold, stripped of human kindness. HR Becky showed up when I heard that, and moral indignation was high. I have to say, companies do better. How do you stay professional when something deeply impacts you at work? It's not easy, but it comes down to focus. At one point in my career, I had someone working hard to sabotage me. She was openly smug when our boss took her word over mine. She screamed at me on the phone regularly. I was hurt and I was angry. Professionalism isn't about ignoring your feelings. It's about managing them while respecting your workplace and your colleagues. When communication is respectful, dealing with different opinions or tensions is more productive. You don't know what they think unless they tell you. It's reasonable to believe them when they say who they are, and it's reflected in their behavior. I learned to keep strong boundaries by blocking angry tirades by ending a call. I don't entirely know what was going on with my former colleague, and frankly, it wasn't mine to fix. If only I'd learned that a little bit faster. Sometimes the stress comes from outside work. I remember once I was in the car working on compensation reviews for one of my executives. My role required me to do roll-ups so that they knew how much they were spending overall. And it was an important time. It was an important task. And I was in the car because my husband was driving us to see his mom in the ICU. In hindsight, I could have spoken to my manager to see if any accommodations could be made. I did have the flexibility to work remotely a couple of days before that was so common. My head was so focused on my deadline, but my heart was committed to my mother-in-law and her health. Some roles don't allow for that flexibility I had. It's sometimes a trade-off of pay versus managing the home front. Not everyone has access to disability or to family leave, but a conversation with your leader may still be worthwhile. Don't assume no without a conversation. If you never ask, it's always no. It's also critical to prioritize self-care activities to help manage the stress. Sometimes that might be going into your car and screaming when no one can hear you. Maybe it's walking the long way to an appointment. Sometimes it's just as simple and as hard as finding a quiet place to be for just 1 minute. It's not about perfection. It's about survival and pacing yourself. No matter what, speak kindly to yourself. You are doing the best that you can. And then there are the big changes, those macroeconomic changes. World events, national elections. It's easy to get overwhelmed with all the chatter on news feeds and with other people. What's next? What's going to happen now? Did you read this most recent article or see this new video that came out? It is important to stay informed and to not get paralyzed by overthinking. It's reasonable to stay on your toes, but avoid getting knocked on your butt from the weight of it all. Break it down. What could impact your industry, your company, your role? Where might you need to pivot? When a layoff was looming in our household, we made the decisions about what we would do that first day. We didn't think past that except to know we would have some agency immediately, and we would have more information at that time to choose any next steps. I think about that for all changes outside my control. What's the first step I'll take if my worst case scenario occurs? After that, I can observe the landscape and choose the next best step I can find. Mentally, my husband and I focused on adaptability when we were facing that risk. Change is inevitable, but your ability to navigate it can set you apart. Stay open, stay curious, and lean into what's within your control, because so many of these things we might play a part, but ultimately the bigger decision is not in our control. So there you have it. Ways to stay professional, cope, and prepare when life throws challenges your way. Remember, resilience doesn't mean doing it all perfectly. It's about showing up as your best self, even when that best looks different from day to day. For me, it's a process. Chaos, unwelcome change, and hard times, they get resolved. Then we start to settle into an evolved identity. That gives us a foundation for looking ahead to the next thing. We know more about ourselves and what we want most, and are ready to make better choices for ourselves. But as you might expect, that's another story. Thank you for listening to my story. My hope is that you will get insights for leading as you. If you know someone who would benefit from this episode, be sure to share it. Interested in connecting with me on LinkedIn? Drop me a note telling me where you found me. The link will be in the show notes. Okay, bye.